I yeah. So life has been something else today. Had a lot of love. Felt a lot of stress, but I made a lot more love. I made a lot of love. Let's not get past that point. It's not. Let's not move too fast. But yeah, I'm poly and I have multiple lovers and I have complex emotional situations that sometimes have to be navigated. So, such is the life of a goddess worshiping polyamorous love maker. What are you gonna do? So, anyways, we are reading from my Bible, one of many Bibles. Technically, Bible only means book. So, literally, technically, every book is a Bible. But, it's just the meaning of words that people think and see differently about things. So, there's a lot of words that people have different meanings for. It's hip hop. I'm hip hop, so, we fuck with words for fun. Yeah. Um, Yeah, this looks good. Wow, I'll just read this common myths part, and it'll be good. Uh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, my name is Adam Stewart Malcolm Lovejoy. My Bender Supreme. Name. I'm also Love. You can call me Love if you want. That's cool. So, it's been a day. It's been a day. Pardon me if I pass that yawn on to you, but if I did, that means that our souls are connected. It's like Professor X and Apocalypse in the X-Men movie. We are connected. I think I heard something about like yawning is a sympathetic trigger that people have. Like subconsciously, somebody yawns by you, you yawn to kind of subconsciously show them, hey, I feel for you. You're tired. I'm tired. You're feeling that way. I feel that way. Hey. It's just a word I heard. I'm talking about myths. That leads us into our sexual myths because come on. There's a lot of sexual myths out there. A lot. Like that cannot be. Let's just dive in. It's because we'll never ever get to the end of them, and we'll never ever get to the end of erasing them. You can for yourself, but socially, there's governments, there's religions, there's schools, there's health industries, there's the military. There's a lot of perverse places. Religion, church. Anyways, common myths. Many myths are built into our sexual ideas. Most people never question or examine them. In fact, to question the myths is to question the religion. Bingo! That's the problem, and that's where all the problems come in. How does one question the virgin birth without questioning Catholicism? How does one examine the pedophilia of Muhammad marrying a 9-year-old girl without questioning Islam? How does one talk about Joseph Smith's revelation in the 1840s that Mormon men can have as many wives and President Wolford's about-face revelation in 1890 that Mormons can only have one wife without questioning the foundations of Mormonism? All of these are sexual myths. The very story in the first book of Genesis is a sexual myth. Yes, and yes. I've been saying this. I've said it before. I've said it again. The whole Eve. The fuck out of here. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized they were naked, so they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. Genesis 3:7. Exactly what Adam and Eve did is never stated, but it had something to do with sex. In the Quran, we learn the myth that women have an illness when menstruating. It's not true. But they say it. The Cap 2:222. They question thee, O Muhammad, concerning menstruation. Say, it is an illness, so let women alone at such times, and go not into them until they are cleansed. And when they have purified themselves, then go unto them as Allah hath enjoined upon you. Truly Allah loveth those who turn unto him, and loveth those who have a care for cleanness. Romans 5:12, Paul is very clear that the original sin came from Adam and has corrupted mankind ever since. The myths, the myths, the myths. If only we could just see this world as heaven, we would all be in a bit of a better place. Actually, I'm going to keep saying that until my breath is gone. These religions, what is one of the main things that they do? Besides blame women and sexuality for sin, besides that, the next thing they do is take their heaven and remove it from the earth. You can never achieve heaven right here and now with the religion. You just need to be judged at the end of your life, which is a really, really shitty concept. This is the simple idea of thinking that you came to heaven when you were born. When you were born, you were given a ticket to heaven. Life is heaven. That idea, and whether or not you follow a religion or not, that concept is heavenly to me. I digress. In Romans 5:12, Paul is very clear that the original sin came from Adam and has corrupted mankind ever since. Wherefore, as by one man, the context is weird. Wherefore, as by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so death passed upon all men, for that all have sinned. From this unfathomable idea, and oddly stated phrase, come centuries of torture and deprivation for millions of humans. You are born imperfect, and your very sexuality is living proof of that imperfection. It's strange. And if it was so imperfect, how could it create life? It can and will damn you forever, especially if you're a woman. Women tempted man and caused the fall. Therefore, she is more sinful and suspect of the sexes. Nice. Other myths are more specific to our sexual behavior. Masturbation is a sin against God's commandment not to spill your seed. It was called onanism. Onanism, such a strange word. Onanism for centuries after the poor fellow Onan in the book of Genesis, who chose to spill a seed rather than father a child by his deceased brother's wife. Some people have boundaries and morals. Come on now. A quaint practice of the day that modern religionists forget to include in their list of sins: failing to father children by your dead brother's wife. The things in the Bible are wild. Modern religionists look at the spilling of seed as a crime, not screwing his brother's wife, probably against her will. So strange. The list of myths we acquire about sex and sexuality is amazingly long. Here is a short sample. Here we go. You ready? Before I go in there, I'm just going to talk a little bit about, when I was young, there was a myth that I was told very young, and I was so happy that this myth came into my mind because it was a simple myth, and I got to disprove it really quick. And from that point, I could see that there were a lot of sexual myths out there that were not worth listening to. Oh, drink some water if you haven't already today. Water, it's so good. Oh, love you, water. I love you. Anyways, so the point was this sexual myth, like right after I lost my virginity, or I gave my virginity to this beautiful lover that I was with. One of the first guys, in the first few times I had sex, he was having a lot of sex and he was popular and stuff. And he's like, yo, man, the best part of sex isn't even an orgasm. Because you know what? The best part of sex is after you have sex and you go to the washroom and you go take a pee. When you take that pee is the best part. Oh, it feels even better than an orgasm. So I heard this when I was 13 and I was like, really? I was like, is that a secret? And I had sex like the second or third time, and I was like, okay, I just had sex. This is great. Now let me go and have the real fun. Let me go and go pee. And I went and peed. Felt like pee. Felt like regular pee. I was like, I like the sex more. What the fuck was that guy talking about? Peeing feels better than or. So I had a really silly. That was my first encounter with sexual myths, and that was my first lesson in being like, yo, let me just learn what I want about sexuality, and let me just do what I feel is right. And from there, I just followed my own heart and followed my own truth. And I realized other people have myths and beliefs and values around sexuality that I don't have. And even when I was a 13-year-old boy, I was like, yo, let me just discover for myself. I can listen to some people and, oh, yeah, I hear about this condom stuff because it was the 90s. And in the 90s, HIV scare was hella real, hella real. I just seen my hero Magic Johnson just retire from the Lakers in 1991 because he had contracted HIV. And so, like, you know, I wasn't messing around sexually. I was listening to what people said, but I still didn't. I didn't believe that you could catch HIV from a bathroom seat, some shit like that. There's a line. Got to be educated. But anyways, let me get into some of these sexual myths. Because like, it's going to fuck your head up. This is going to fuck your head up. Think of how many of these myths you believe, or you have heard, or you know that your friends or parents support still. Here's a list of sexual myths that perpetuate and permeate our culture. God is watching you as you have sex. God sees you fucking. God is watching and jerking off to your fucking. Telling Jesus. Jesus does not want you to masturbate. Sorry, Jesus. Too bad. Homosexuality is a far greater sin than adultery. What? Women should cover themselves for modesty in the sight of the Lord. That one I really don't believe, because I'm like, yo, why don't men have to cover themselves? That's just not balanced. Women should be sexually available to their husbands under almost any condition. That's just illogical. Sex outside of marriage is always wrong. Pornography is hard. I'm just going to go through it because, like, I obviously dispute them all in various levels and ways. But let's just go. Let's dive in and see how nutty we can get. Sex outside of marriage is always wrong. I fucked up today. Sorry, I had to because I had some amazing sex today. The rooftop. Pornography is harmful to women and children. Religious leaders are equipped to counsel you on sex and marriage. Menstruation is dirty. You should not have sex with a menstruating woman. Teaching children and adolescents about sex will encourage them to actually do it. Do it, kids. Just wrap it up. Teaching children about Jesus' plan will help them resist sexual temptation. I can't even. I can't even. That is so funny. Fantasizing is wrong. If you lust in your heart, you have committed adultery. But slap me on the bum wrist for what I was thinking. No one else feels the sexual feelings you feel, so you must be sinful. Premarital sex will damage your marriage. Too much sex in marriage is wrong. Women don't enjoy sex. All men want from women is sex. Women are Jesus' sexual gatekeepers. Premarital purity and abstinence will help you have a long, happy marriage. Women who have had a lot of sex partners are sluts. Hi, sluts. Hi, I like you. Men who have had a lot of sex partners just use women. Women should be subservient to men. Anal sex is repulsive and wrong in the sight of God. Punishment for adultery is deserved. Women are the tempters and lead men astray. Oral sex is unnatural. God inserts the soul at the moment of conception. Sexual pleasure is dangerous. Ministers who go astray deserve forgiveness just as Jesus commands. Oh, God. That's so foul. These myths and many more are part of the larger sexual map that we carry around in our heads. You may not believe any of these or most of them, but many people do. These myths have a direct impact on a person's ability to enjoy and develop sexually and influence how they relate to each other and teach their children and which politicians they vote for. For real. One of the most pernicious Christian myths is the myth of monogamy. I'm not going to go into the ratings on that just today. I'm going to just talk a little jewel from my life about that. So, monogamy is just a control mechanism to limit people's diverse range of experience and love and sexuality and liberation in the world. And the idea that there's only one person that can satisfy us and one prime soul, it's trash. It's not necessary. It's not good. It's not serving the hearts of many. Because if monogamy was real, it would be easier to do and much more widespread. But people are not monogamous. People pretend to be monogamous, and then 50% of them in matrimonial situations break up because they don't want to actually be with one person for the rest of their life, because that's not what most mammals do. Most mammals have multiple attractions and multiple situations and complex families, and most mammals aren't really in nuclear family situations. I have a book here called The Myth of Monogamy. It's so good. Hold on, I just gotta get it. The Myth of Monogamy: Fidelity and Infidelity in Animals and People. So, yeah. It's just a commonly held lie that we're supposed to be with one person for the rest of our lives. So, you're just supposed to follow your heart. That's all I'm really saying. And you're not supposed to do what your big brother does, or your mother does, or your father does, or your sister, your aunt, or uncle. You're supposed to do what you want to do. There's enough time and space and earth and life to have multiple systems. There's not one love fits all. It's not. These aren't shoes. These aren't flags, and they all have to be the same size. These aren't friggin' fucking car tires that all have to adhere to an industry standard, or they can't go on the road. It's love. There's multiple ways to get to that destination, as long as you're telling the truth and walking with the person you want to walk with. That's it. So, if you want to walk with more than one person, do that. But just tell them. It's just a respectful thing. So, that's about it. I love you. Thanks for listening. I'm going to keep going. Bye. Shout out to Choke No Joke. Shout out.